common themes, the same components of the family. And it was really neat because I was raised in a great family. And as I went through this, I began to recognize things that my family did that I couldn't really articulate. I didn't know why we had a good family and why all my brothers and my sisters stayed close like we did until I looked at some of these components. So today, the question we're going to answer is, what makes for a great family? How can you build that family that you envy, that you look at someone else and go, man, they have a great family. I wish my family were more like that. And let me say this, if you're not a parent, this still applies to you because you're a family member. We all have a family. And we can all step up and do those things that will make a great family. So, take a real deep breath, get your pen ready, because I'm going to give you not 1, not 5, not 10, but 15 techniques to make for a great family. And we're going to get through this pretty quickly. I want to start by saying this. How many of you know God wants us to have a great family? He wants us to have an abundant life, and a family is such a big part of that, our family. And so he says in his word, Jesus said this, the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy, John 10:10. But he said, I didn't come for that. I came that you could have life and have it abundantly, overflowingly. Life. Bigger than life. Life. And then in Proverbs 3, verse 1 says this, my son, do not forget my teaching, but keep my commands in your heart, for they will prolong your life. See, God wants us to enjoy life. But I'll tell you one good place to spend your money, and that is to take your family on a trip. Because that's what they're going to remember. Those trips are what they're going to remember. I was raised in a holiness church. Some of you know what I'm talking about. You know, TV we were pretty sure it was of the devil. Going to the theater was definitely of the devil. And there was a lot of list of do's and don'ts that we had on our list. You know, to kind of let you identify with where I'm coming from, the first movie I ever saw was Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. I got to see it because we were far away from where my dad pastored. We swore to silence, that we would not tell anybody. And I remember as a kid going into the theater dark, a chair. You know, I'm probably about 12 years old for my first movie. And I'm like, man, I am loving this. I'm like, I didn't know they had something that's wonderful. And imagine my disappointment, man, when that witch broke out. The Walker family broke out too. My dad said, that's it, witchcraft, we're out of here. So that's the way I was raised. And I remember my dad, he worked 2 or 3 jobs. And how are you going to keep your kids? How are you going to tie them to them? But he did it. All my brothers and my sister, all serving the Lord and their spouses. They love the Lord. And I remember he won a trip to Miami Beach. And so I was one of the youngest boy. I have a baby sister who's the princess who gets everything her way. And still today. No, but I'm not bitter about it. So, my dad had an old Chevy station wagon. So, of course, you know where my seat was. In the middle of all the suitcases, looking at life as it flies by you backwards. Right? And we go down to Miami, and, you know, there's the beach, there's the sand, there's, you know, it's Miami Beach, you know, it's great. But we kept seeing these big signs as a kid, these outside cafes that had these signs that said hot dogs boiled in beer. Now, we didn't care if it was boiled in whatever. All we saw was hot dogs. And so the whole time we were in Miami Beach, we're asking our holiness pastor dad for one of those hot dogs. And I mean, it was relentless. You know, 5 kids want a hot dog. You just get out of the way. And so my dad found out, yes, indeed, all the alcohol is boiled out. So he deemed it safe for us. So, man, we were in high cotton eating our hot dogs boiled in beer. And so that became the mantra of everything. That's all we talked about. Hot dogs and beer. We got hot dogs and beer. Well, my dad was mortified, right? Because we got to go back to Ohio. The Sunday school classes, what the teacher, what did y'all do? We ate hot dogs and beer. So my dad swore us to silence again. Don't you dare tell him. That just made it all better, right? Now it's top secret. And kids will take the most mundane, silly stuff. You don't know what it's going to be, but if you'll make those markers in their life, I promise you, there's going to be a day. I still remember hot dogs, boiled, and beer. Right? Those trips are so important.